Fine, so we take up another chapter. This time we take up Lost Spring by Anees Jung. Now, this is not a story, first of all. It's not a story. It is a real life account. A real life account. In fact, these are two real life accounts. Two real life accounts of two individuals. One happens to be a child and he is a rag picker. And the other one is a grown-up. Who works in bangle making industry, which is in Firozabad. The bangle making industry is formally also referred to as glass blowing industry. And Lost Spring is a compilation of two real life accounts. One that of a child who happens to be a rag picker, and the second happens to be of an adult who works in a glass blowing industry. In fact, these two real life accounts apprise or make all of us aware of the grinding poverty, abject poverty that sizable population lead its life in. It's the very important phrase that stands out to describe the hard work, rather the toil of these people, of the underprivileged people, underprivileged people, is mind-numbing toil. Once again, all of it. And toil is TOIL, is nothing but hard work, extreme hard work. All over again. Lost Spring by Anees Jung is a real life account of two individuals who are not as privileged as we all are. One happens to be the real life account of a child who happens to be a rag picker, and the other is a grown-up. His name is Mukesh. He works in a glass blowing industry in Firozabad. And this particular lesson also has a purpose. Every lesson has a purpose. Every lesson has a minimum learning from it. This lesson also has a purpose, and the minimum learning that a child takes away from this particular lesson is the fact that this is an effort on the part of the author and she's a lady, and Anees Jung is a lady, to sensitize all of us, and we all are the privileged lot. Sensitize all of us to we all are the privileged lot to the harsh reality of grinding poverty that people lead their lives in. And by way of a little more groundwork before we move on to finer details and important landmarks of this lesson, it is important for you all to understand that rag picker's name is Sahib-e-Alam. Sahib-e-Alam. Sahib-e-Alam, which means Lord of the Universe. Look at the irony. It is quite ironical. It is quite ironical that the name of this rag picker is Sahib-e-Alam, and he, which means Lord of the Universe, and he leads a miserable existence. So there is irony in his name, and he, as we later on learn, seems to be ambitious. However, the adult who works in a glass blowing industry, Mukesh, he too has ambitions, but his ambitions are more determined by the limit of abject poverty that surround him. It is quite doubtful that he would ever be able to fulfill his ambitions. It's quite doubtful that he would ever be able to fulfill his ambitions. In fact, the author Anees Jung has beautifully put how it is extremely doubtful that he would ever be able to fulfill his ambition. The fact remains that these are two real life accounts, and the purpose of this particular lesson is to, and the minimum learning that a child takes away from this particular lesson is the phrase contemporary reality. This is one thing this is the minimum learning that this particular lesson affords. Contemporary reality. You must understand, before we move any further, we must understand the meaning of this phrase, and we break it up word for word. Contemporary, happening in the times that we are alive, and reality, anything that exists despite being banned. So any practice that exists, that prevails despite being banned, is a reality. And if this practice prevails or continues at the time when one is alive, that particular individual would describe it as a contemporary reality. A contemporary reality. For example, corruption. It's a contemporary reality. It's been banned. It's illegal. Still people practice it. Same is the case with child labor, which is another example of contemporary